Well, here we are back at the kitchen, and it's my keto kitchen. And as I've mentioned before, I do all clean keto recipes. If for any reason anything's not clean keto, I will tell you. But today I'm making a Boston cream pie. And actually it's square, so it's a cake, but Boston cream cake just doesn't have the same ring to it as Boston cream pie. So what that is it's a layer of vanilla cake, a layer of pudding or custard, a layer of cake topped with chocolate ganache. So we're going to start off making the pudding because the pudding has to cool down before we make the cake. So I'm making the pudding. I'm going to let it cool down and refrigerate, and I'm going to make the cake layers after this. And I'm putting everything in a blender just because I use coconut milk. Oh, by the way, this is all dairy-free, nut-free, flour-free. It's delicious. I use Thai kitchen coconut milk, and this is a 13.5 ounce can. So if you're using coconut milk or hemp milk or anything, it's about 13 to 14 ounces. So I'm using this, and the reason it's in the blender is that sometimes there are lumps, and I want to get out all the lumps before I start cooking it. So we start off with 1 can of coconut milk. Oh, the main ingredient, 6 egg yolks. Ooh, yum. I have so many egg yolks left over from making all of my egg white bread, my cinnamon bread, my PSMF focaccia, hamburger and hot dog rolls. So I'm always looking for ways to use up my egg yolks, and this is one of them, custard. I also have on our website and some videos on chocolate pudding, banana pudding, coffee pudding. I've made just about every kind of flavor pudding you can imagine. So that's 6 egg yolks. And to that, we add a teaspoon of vanilla extract because I'm making vanilla today. And the vanilla extract that I'm making is almost ready. So by the time I finish this bottle of vanilla extract, mine will be ready. Use pure vanilla. Do not use imitation vanilla. So I have 2 tablespoons or 30 grams of melted coconut oil. I already have it melted. The reason I like weight measurements is sometimes in the summer the coconut oil is already melted, and rather than taking out 2 tablespoons, I can put it right in here as 30 grams. And then I have on my recipe 6 drops of liquid stevia. Now I'm using vanilla flavored French vanilla stevia since this is a vanilla pudding, and this is better stevia French vanilla that I get on Wellevate. I buy all my better stevia flavors from Wellevate because they have the most flavors in stock. So I use this. I love it. I've also found on Wellevate, I cannot use erythritol. I cannot use allulose. They have a liquid monk fruit that has no erythritol in it. It's just monk fruit. So I'm needing to try that. I don't know. I'm going to put a little bit more sweetener because you can also try it to see does it need sweetener. So I'm just going to mix this up and make sure all of the coconut milk is blended in and there are no lumps. Now we have, I don't have a double boiler to cook the pudding, but I do use a metal bowl, or any resistant bowl will work. I have a small amount of water that I'm heating up, and you put the bowl over the water, you pour in the pudding mixture. So as you see, there's some left over in the blender. So what I'm going to do is my next cup of coffee, I'll just make the coffee, add a little collagen, salt, put it in here, blend it up, and that'll be my flavored coffee for the day. So we're going to be heating this up and stirring until a spoon is coated. So we're going to strain it, put it through the strainer. So you just and this will make a nice smooth pudding. So here it is, all strained, and I'm going to set it aside and let it cool for a little bit, maybe half hour. Then I'll put it in the refrigerator to completely cool. What I'll probably do too is cover it so that it doesn't get that film on top. So next, we'll make the cake. Okay, I'm back to make the cake portion of this dessert. And this is my coffee with the leftover from the pudding that was in my Vitamix. So I'm enjoying my cup of coffee as we make this cake portion. I have 2 bowls. In one bowl, 6 egg yolks. In the other bowl, 6 egg whites. Now I just want to say that what I would probably do if I wasn't filming for you, I would make the custard on one day and then do the cake and assemble everything the next day, because I'd want to make sure the custard was all set. But in the essence of time, I did it all in the same day. So the 6 egg yolks. I also have 62 grams of powdered xylitol. You can use any powdered sweetener you want. As I've mentioned before, I cannot use erythritol or allulose, so it's powdered xylitol. I measured out 62 grams of the granular, put it in my little coffee grinder that I only use for xylitol, and now I have 62 grams of powdered xylitol. In here, there's 30 grams of egg white powder and a half a teaspoon of gelatin. I think gelatin just makes the cakes and the breads a really good consistency, and you'll also need a teaspoon of vanilla. So first off, we're going to beat the egg yolks till they change color. As you can see, the egg yolks have changed color. They're lighter in color, a little pale. So to that we add the egg white powder, gelatin, xylitol, and the teaspoon of vanilla. So this is a vanilla sponge cake that I'm making. And now we're going to beat that until it's very pale in color. As you can see, this is very light and pale in color. It looks so good. So I'm going to wash these off because I only have these beaters, and then we're going to come back and do the egg whites. Oh, that coffee tastes so good. So now we're going to beat the egg whites to a stiff peak. This is just egg whites. Now, if you're worried about your beaters having any fat on them, you can wipe them off with a little vinegar or lemon juice. I'm not worried right now, so let's start beating these to a stiff peak. So that is stiff peaks. You can see they make stiff peaks when you lift it up. So now you're going to fold in the egg whites 1/3 at a time into the egg yolk mixture. Yes, probably should be doing it with a spatula. I actually prefer using a spoon. When I learned to cook from my mother, we used to use wooden spoons. Well, wooden spoons are no longer considered sanitary, so I use metal spoons. So you just fold it in. I'm going to get everything off the sides first. We're going to get the pans. I'm using 8x8 silicone pans for the cake. I will put a link to the ones that I bought on Amazon. And it will go in a 350-degree oven for 20 minutes. So you divide the batter between the two cake pans. And what I love about these is the cakes come out so easy. I've only made these in the silicone pan, so I don't know if making them in a regular pan, you need to grease it, or I don't know if I'd grease it, but I'd probably put parchment paper in it. Try to divide it evenly. Spread it all to the ends. But we actually have to wait for the pudding to cool. So that's why I suggest if you're making it, make the pudding the day before. So this will go in the oven for 20 minutes. I'll take it out, let it cool, test the pudding to make sure it's cool enough to use. So I'll probably see you back in a couple of hours. So we're back to assemble the Boston cream pie. So I'm going to be making the ganache. To make the ganache, you have the equal weight of, and I'm making dairy-free, so it's coconut milk and dark chocolate. And I love Ghirardelli 100% chocolate, so that's what I'm using today, is Ghirardelli chocolate. And if you don't want it dairy-free, you can make it with heavy cream. I've done that before, but since this whole cake is dairy-free, I'm making dairy-free ganache. So the chocolate you cut up in as small a piece as you can, because the smaller that you can cut it up, the better it's going to melt when you put the hot milk on it. And I have the coconut milk is on the burner, and you don't want it to really boil, but you want it to be hot enough that it's going to melt the chocolate. The last time I made it, it really wasn't hot enough, so the ganache was a little lumpy. Today I'm going to make sure that coconut milk is hot enough so that it melts all the chocolate. So you just put all of this in a bowl. I have most of it already chopped up. So now the coconut milk is on the burner, so that looks like it's hot enough to melt the chocolate. Turn the burner off, and you're going to pour the hot milk onto the chocolate. And you're just going to let it sit for about 5 minutes till the chocolate is melted. And in the meantime, while that is melting, we'll put the cake together. So we're going to assemble the cake. Here are the two layers of cake. As I said, this has thickened up quite a bit. I would probably wait, as I said, make it the day before. So we're going to pour some pudding on. So when I slice this, because it goes in the refrigerator, but I'm going to taste it before it goes in the refrigerator. So it may spill out a bit. So that when you get a slice of this, you're going to get a nice slice of pudding. As I said, the pudding in the cake has enough sweetener for me anyway, so that I don't need any in the ganache. And then we're going to put this upside down on top of it so that you have a flat surface for the ganache. So the ganache is ready, and I'm just going to spread it on the top. Sometimes if you use less chocolate and more milk, it might just drip down the sides. You can put as much chocolate as you want. I just like to make sure it gets to the edges. And now it's time to taste it. So I'm going to cut a piece. I'm going to taste it first, and then Carl will taste it. It's It's going to tip over. The first taste test. That tastes good. Not too sweet. Oh, that's delicious. And now we'll get Carl to taste.
Finally get my chance to taste some of the goodies. All right, let's see how this goes. Nice and creamy. Nice and creamy. I think I'll just keep tasting. Really good, really good.